During the class monitor election, the girl suddenly realized that there were clearly only 29 people in the class, yet she somehow received 30 votes. She counted them again and again, and every time, the result was the same. Even the homeroom teacher said there was no way 30 votes could have appeared. Left with no choice, the girl counted them one more time together with her classmates. Just as they were about to reach the 30th vote, she finally saw it. The extra person was actually a shadowy ghost figure, yet the other students seemed not to see it at all. Not wanting to cause a panic, the girl, whose name was Miko, chose not to say anything, but she truly could not understand why she had suddenly started seeing ghosts. So on her way home after school, Miko searched it on her phone, but every answer she found said it was just excessive mental stress causing hallucinations. But at that very moment, when Miko casually looked up, she saw another grinning, ghostly figure right ahead of her. Strangely, no one else on the bus could see it either, although she had no idea whether she had awakened some kind of spiritual sight. Miko was so terrified that tears streamed down her face, and she quickly searched again. What should you do if you see a ghost? A spiritual expert in the video said not to be afraid, and that if you curse at the spirit loudly, it will disappear. So when Miko saw a child ghost crouching in the corner once again, she decided to try what the expert had said. The bad part was that the little ghost was not afraid of her at all, and even started chasing after her. Miko sprinted all the way home and collapsed right at the front door. Luckily, her father showed up just in time, and that was how she escaped the danger. After that, while cooking, Miko started watching another expert's video, but what he said was completely different from the first expert. He claimed that if you encounter a ghost, you must never scream or react. You can only pretend not to see it and leave quickly, otherwise the ghost will latch onto you. Clearly, this expert was the one who was right, because the moment Miko looked up, she saw that little ghost already standing in her living room. At that moment, her mother, who had been out job hunting all day, also came back home. Miko had just wanted to ask her younger brother to hand her some seasoning, but then she saw the child ghost walking over. Remembering what the expert had said, Miko quickly lowered her head and pretended not to see it. Thankfully, that trick really seemed to work, and the ghost truly disappeared. The next day, when Miko was on her way to school, she saw another blurry figure by that same corner again. This time, she had learned her lesson, so she put on her earphones and walked straight past it. But unexpectedly, that figure actually followed after her. After the whole misunderstanding turned into an awkward mess, Miko ran off in embarrassment, but at that moment, her mood finally relaxed completely, and she thought her strange ability to see ghosts had gone away. Who would have thought that just as she reached the school gate, she suddenly saw a blue ghostly hand resting on her best friend Hannah's shoulder. After asking about it, she learned that Hannah had recently attended a relative's funeral. Because Hannah was her close friend, Miko could not just stand by and do nothing, so she went online and searched for all kinds of ways to drive spirits away. And the internet gave all kinds of different answers too, such as salt, prayer beads, charms, or shrines, all of which were said to repel spirits. Obviously, out of all those things, the most common one was salt, but when she secretly threw several handfuls behind Hannah's back, she realized it had absolutely no effect at all. What she did not expect was that Miko was not the only person in this school who could see ghosts. At the school festival lottery event, 2 upperclassmen also noticed the ghostly hand on Hannah's shoulder, but even worse, there was another ghostly figure sitting beside their pregnant homeroom teacher, staring intently at her belly. At the critical moment, Miko quickly pretended to have a stomachache and got the teacher to leave, and the 2 upperclassmen saw all of it. They immediately realized that this girl could see ghosts, so the female upperclassman, Yuria, took the initiative to approach Miko and Hannah, and used the excuse of recording the event to take pictures of them, all just to test Miko's reaction.
ここなんか相当漏れてるよね。ん？ どこが漏れてるの？
漏れてるよ。ね、漏れてるよね。どこが漏れてるの？は？
At that moment, several classmates suddenly walked over, so Yuria had no choice but to leave. But right after that, the male upperclassman came over as well. He directly exposed the fact that Miko could see ghosts, and he told her that many years ago, a landslide accident had happened at this school, causing the deaths of more than 50 teachers and students, and they had all become earthbound spirits, wandering through every corner of the campus, and that incident had happened during the school festival, which was exactly why this period was when they were most active. He reminded Miko that pretending not to see them would not solve anything, and that if there was something she could do, then she should do her best to do it. Perhaps inspired by what he said, Miko bought another set of prayer beads and wanted to give them to Hannah, only to find that Hannah had just finished lunch and was already eating again. Hannah also said that she did not know why she had been getting hungry so easily lately, but the moment she saw the prayer beads Miko gave her, her attention was instantly drawn to them, but the second she put the beads on, they snapped apart. Miko understood right away that the ghostly hand was interfering. When she looked closely, she discovered that the ghost hand had already stretched from Hannah's shoulder down to her stomach. After school, Hannah suddenly acted like she had gone mad and insisted on buying more food again. So Miko, worried about her, followed along, and then suddenly noticed a shrine by the roadside. Remembering what she had read online, that shrines could also drive spirits away, she immediately stopped Hannah and led her inside under the excuse of going in to pray for good fortune. Sure enough, after the two of them passed through the gate, Miko noticed that the spirit had been left outside, and when they came back out, it showed no sign of following them. She thought that would be the end of it, but the very next day, during the school festival drawing, all the popular event slots were taken by other classes, leaving only the least popular options, a haunted house and building an arch. Luckily, Yuria's class had built an arch at the previous school festival, and the base was still there, so if Miko's class wanted to make one, they could use it. So the group went together to the storage room to look for it, but the moment she stepped inside, Miko saw several ghosts in the room. While pretending not to notice them, she still could not help warning Hannah not to run around, afraid that she might bump into one of the spirits and get attached again. But Yuria, who could also see spirits, was completely different. She directly pulled prayer beads and ritual tools out of her school bag and started trying to drive the ghosts away.
リン、秒、と、シャ、
やめてください。
カイ。
Unexpectedly, Hannah spoke up and interrupted the ritual, because from Yuria's strange behavior, she had guessed that there were ghosts there, and in fear, she immediately ran outside. But the moment she got out, she saw their homeroom teacher, who was about to give birth, being taken away in an ambulance. However, when Miko chased after her, she saw several little red hands on the teacher's belly, just as she was panicking and had no idea what to do. The upperclassman behind her reminded her not to worry, because those were not evil entities at all, but the teacher's guardian spirits. With them there, the baby would definitely be born safely. Only after hearing that did Miko finally feel relieved, because the homeroom teacher was absent. A substitute teacher named Zen temporarily came to the class. He was a young and very handsome man, so the students were all delighted. The principal standing nearby said that Zen and the homeroom teacher were from the same hometown and had known each other for a long time. Hearing that, the students immediately started teasing him, asking whether he had ever dated the homeroom teacher. But Miko was the only one with a grave expression on her face, because she saw a black vengeful spirit clinging tightly behind Mr. Zen, even though she felt uneasy inside. Miko, as the vice class monitor, and Hannah, as the class monitor, were still called to the office by Zen after class to learn about the situation, but Miko kept staring at the vengeful spirit beside him, and even Zen could sense that something was off. Meanwhile, the class ultimately decided to prepare a haunted house event, which made Miko uneasy, because haunted houses were exactly the kind of places these spirits loved most. Yet on that very day during class, something happened again. Miko discovered that the vengeful spirit that had been following Mr. Zen so closely was now standing right in front of Hannah, and just like the last time she had been affected by a spirit, Hannah began saying she was hungry again. Miko understood that this definitely had something to do with how often Hana was around Mr. Zen. So when she heard a classmate say once again that the teacher had asked Hana to go to the office to get the handouts, Miko took the initiative and went to the office herself. She tried to read some clue from Zen's face, but then suddenly heard the vengeful spirit speak a sentence through Zen's mouth.
人のことあんまりジロジロ見ないでよ
Miko was so frightened that she immediately lowered her head, grabbed the handouts, and hurriedly left. Very soon, the haunted house was finished, and everyone planned to take a group photo to remember it. Miko noticed that Hana had disappeared again, and one of the classmates said they had seen her go to the office. No sooner had those words been spoken than Hana came running over. Looking utterly drained, she forced herself to take the group photo with everyone, then left right away. But Miko discovered that in the photo, Hana's face and the vengeful spirit's face had merged together. It was clear that the vengeful spirit had attached itself to Hana, and Hana had once again become someone who could not stop overeating, so Miko had no choice but to take her to the shrine with her one more time, planning to drive the spirit away. But this time, there was no reaction at all. Miko refused to believe it, and pulled Hana back and forth across the shrine entrance several times, until Hana got annoyed and shoved her away.
私がこういうとこ嫌いなの知ってんのになんでこんなことすんの
ごめん
The next day, Miko made a lot of delicious food, wanting to apologize to Hana, only to hear from Mr. Zen that Hana had taken the day off. Then Hana's mother called, saying that her daughter had suddenly collapsed and still had not woken up. Miko understood that it had to be the doing of that vengeful spirit. With no other choice, she could only go and beg Yuria, who knew how to drive spirits away, for help. Yuria said that because Hana herself was someone with extremely strong energy, spirits kept being drawn to her, almost like they were feeding on her life force and absorbing the energy from her body. And because of that constant loss of energy, Hana would keep feeling hungry and need to eat non-stop, until in the end her energy was completely drained and she died. But what was attached to Mr. Zen was not actually a ghost, but a living spirit, meaning the lingering obsession of a woman who loved him deeply, and because she could not gain his attention, that resentment had built up over time. She would stay tightly attached to Mr. Zen and go after every woman who got too close to him. Usually, things like that are very common around men who toy with people's feelings and then walk away. So Mr. Zen must have abandoned some woman in the past. Fortunately, Yuria had a talisman that could drive away a living spirit. So Miko pretended to ask Mr. Zen to help her move some things, while Yuria began performing the ritual from the window.
並切り不動山不動
聞いてない
こんがら不動吉祥明不動
全然だ
天竺不動天竺坂山不動
まるでダメだ話にならない
静かに
なんだあれは
剥がれました
はい中止
At that moment, they suddenly realized that the spirit had disappeared. Right after that, Miko received a call from Hana's mother, saying that their homeroom teacher also happened to be giving birth at the same hospital, and had even specifically come to visit Hana. In a flash, Miko connected everything. She remembered that the principal had said the homeroom teacher and Mr. Zen were from the same hometown, and when Mr. Zen mentioned the homeroom teacher, he had unconsciously used a nickname. She became convinced that Zen had once played with the homeroom teacher's feelings and abandoned her, and that because the teacher missed him so deeply, she had created the living spirit. Miko quickly told the homeroom teacher everything and urged her to leave Hana's hospital room first. Although she thought Miko was talking nonsense, the homeroom teacher still said that even if such a woman really existed, it could not possibly be her, and that it was more likely Zen's mother. It turned out that the two of them really had grown up together since childhood, but because Zen came from a single-parent family, his mother had an overwhelming need to control him and simply would not allow him to get too close to anyone. As long as Zen showed even the slightest reluctance, his mother would bring up the fact that his father had abandoned the two of them, use it to pressure him emotionally, and force Zen to cut ties with the homeroom teacher.
見るな
But if that ghostly figure was Zen's mother, then it could not possibly be a living spirit. It had to be a dead spirit, because Zen's mother had already passed away a long time ago, and only someone who had been dead for a long time could become that kind of spirit. and with the strength the few of them had now, there was simply no way they could remove her from Mr. Zen. At that moment, Miko suddenly remembered the first time Hana encountered a spirit, when she had taken her to the shrine to drive it away. But last time, it had not worked at all. After asking about the exact details, the upperclassman said it was not that it had not worked, it was that they had gone at the wrong time, because the deity only descends to the shrine during the daytime, and leaves after the sun goes down, and the last time they went, it had happened to be at night, which meant the deity was not there at all. Who would have thought that even a deity worked office hours? At that moment, the sun was just about to set. For Hana to recover as soon as possible, Miko decided to take the risk and give it a try. She lied and said she needed to go out and buy supplies for the school event, then asked Mr. Zen to drive her, and tricked him by saying there was a market behind the shrine, so the two of them could just walk through it. But just as they were about to reach the gate, Mr. Zen, under the influence of his mother's spirit, suddenly began to feel extremely unwell, and every step felt as heavy as if he were dragging 1,000 pounds. His mother also realized that Miko was trying to separate her from her son, so her resentment suddenly began to surge. Luckily, Yuria rushed over at that very moment, ran forward, and shoved Mr. Zen through the gate.
どう？剥がれた？そこにいる？ごめん、見えない。先生、ホームセンター行きましょう。リン、ピョウ、トウ、シャ。
何やってるんですか？
ジン、レッ、ザイ、ゼン。ユリアちゃん。ユリアちゃん。
Driven by sheer obsession, the mother actually forced her way through the barrier at the shrine entrance and came right up to Miko. But just as she was about to harm the girl who wanted to separate her from her son, time suddenly froze. A beam of light burst out from inside the shrine and forced the mother back outside the barrier. Seeing that brute force would not work, the mother changed her strategy, took on the appearance she once had in life, and made Zen able to see her too. The moment he suddenly saw his mother, Mr. Zen instinctively started to move toward her.
ごめんなさい。
私はあなたが一番大切なの。全部あなたのためなのよ。母さんの言うことだけ聞いて。
Miko hurriedly pointed at the birds in the sky and cut him off.
冗談じゃないですよ。こっちは生きてくんだから。
At last, Mr. Zen realized that he could not keep letting his mother control him, and he absolutely could not let her harm his students either. So just like Miko, he ignored her and started talking about the birds instead. The more the two of them talked, the more absorbed they became, looking exactly as if they truly could not see his mother at all. Maybe she felt utterly devastated because she thought her son had abandoned her, or maybe her conscience finally caught up with her and she realized she could not keep clinging to him like this. In any case, after receiving no response for a long time, the mother's spirit slowly faded away in the end, and almost at that exact same moment, Hana woke up in the hospital as well. After everything was over, Miko and Yuria talked about being able to see spirits. Yuria said that she had been able to see them since she was very young, and after her parents died in an accident back then, she saw their spirits because she missed them so deeply. As for Miko, she had only recently started being able to see them, and the very first spirit she truly saw was actually her own father. It turned out that as early as last year, her father had suddenly passed away while at work, but not long before that, because her father had eaten her pudding, she had been upset with him and giving him the cold shoulder, and the two of them had not spoken for several days. That became a knot in her heart, and because she could not face it, she had kept pretending not to see her father's spirit. In truth, she felt deeply guilty about what she had done, but her father had never blamed her. Even after becoming a spirit, he still cared about her everyday life just like before, always fussing over her in his usual way. That shrine was also the place her father had often taken her to worship when she was younger, and that was exactly why the deity there had been willing to help her. After going through all of this, Miko also decided to face her true feelings. When she got home, she went to her father's memorial tablet, placed a pudding there, and told her mother that she wanted to make stir-fried pork liver with chives, the dish her father had loved most when he was alive. In the blink of an eye, the day of the school festival arrived, and Hannah had fully recovered and returned to school. The group had an amazing time playing inside the haunted house designed by their classmates. At that moment, the upperclassmen suddenly came over to talk to them, but it scared Hannah badly.
さっきから誰と話してんの？ねえ、ゆりなちゃん、誰と話してんの？
It turned out that the upperclassman was also one of the earthbound spirits of the school, and in fact, it was not just him. All of the male students were the same. They had been trapped in this girls' school for more than 100 years. Because they could not leave, they could only blend in among the students, just to find a little bit of fun in the endless passage of time. And with that, this warm and healing story wrapped in the shell of a horror film comes to an end. Maybe we are always afraid of the unknown supernatural, but forget that what truly breaks people is the regret of being separated by life and death. Those ghosts we think are frightening may be the very people someone else longs for every single day, but can never see again.